Good afternoon, councillors. I declare this meeting open. Good afternoon, staff and members of the public. Welcome along. Under announcements, we have got a certificate of appreciation from the WA Underwater Hockey Commission, acknowledging the city's generous contributions to the 2016 Australian National Underwater Hockey Championships that were held here. And also from the Mission to Seafarers, a certificate of appreciation with their thanks for support and generous financial contribution towards the refurbishment of the mission in Victoria Street. So it's very nice of them to do that. And I note that today, Usman and Molly, our two resident journos, are heading off to places far beyond. So thank you for your diligent coverage of matters with the City of Bunbury. And we wish you every success for the future, and welcome, Kate. Under declarations of interest, councillors, I've got Councillor Hayward declares a financial interest in item 10.1.2. He also declares a financial interest in relation to item 10.4.3. And Councillor Morris declares an impartiality interest with respect to item 10.4.4, as the neighbour who submitted an objection was a former student of his. Are there any further declarations of interest, councillors? Yes, Councillor Steck.
10.4.5, sir. Proximity interest.
So that's a financial interest. Is that Sandridge Road property yours as well?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. Any further declarations, councillors? Thank you. Public question, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. The first questions relate to the sale of Lot 66. One, I refer to the sale of Lot 66 at the corner of Scott Street and Ocean Drive for $1.8 million, and ask A, what was the date of the offer and acceptance for the sale at a price of $1.8 million? B, what was the last valuation by Landgate prior to that date? C, has a further valuation by Landgate been sought? D, what is the total amount expended by the city in meeting the conditions in the offer and acceptance? E, was the property ever advertised with the conditions of rezoning? And F, when does council expect the sale to be finalised? And was any holding deposit required to be paid other than as part of the purchase price? And question 2, how much is provided to Breck as council's contribution to its operational budget in 212, 213, 213, 14, 214, 15, 215, 216, and B, how much is proposed to be spent by council as an operational subsidy in 216, 17, 217, 18, 218 and 19, and C, has council made any application to royalties for regions for operational subsidies in any of the above years, and if so, with what results to date?
CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to question 1, the date was the 28th of August 2014. Part B, the last valuation was June 2013 with a valuation of $2.2 million. C, no further valuation has been sought, and in accordance with the standing orders, the remaining questions will be treated as correspondence. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So I move the minutes of the previous ordinary meeting. Councillor Giles, seconder. Councillor McCleary, all in favour? It's carried unanimously, thank you. So I'm prepared to move the various committee minutes. Thanks, Councillor Jones. Thanks, Councillor Hayward, seconder. All in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. Are there any petitions tonight? presentations. Mr Smith seeks leave to present to item 10.2.1. Those who agree, please indicate. Those who don't, please indicate. Yeah, that's not approved. Councillors, dealing with the agenda business, the ones coming out so far are 10.1.2. 10.4.3, 10.4.4, 10.4.5, and 10. I think Councillor Cook has indicated 10.5.1. You want to have a... You don't? Okay. So, councillors, you do. Councillor Steele? 10.4.6. Anybody else? Someone move the balance. Councillor Jones, Councillor Cook, all in favour? That's approved unanimously, thank you. So Councillor 10.12, Councillor Hayward. Got someone move this? Councillor Kelly, Councillor McCleary, all in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. Thanks, David. We go to 10.2.1. Can someone move? Councillor Steck, seconder. Councillor Jones. Councillor Steck, do you wish to speak? Councillor Jones. Councillor Steele.
I'm voting against this due to some of the actions within the report I don't fully agree with, especially the reducing of curbside.
Thank you. I'll put it all in favour. Councillor Cook.
Can I ask a question, please, sir?
Yes.
My question is that there will be no change to the hard and green waste collections during the interim period while the review is being
That's
done?
my understanding.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that's correct.
I'll put it all in favour. Those against? It's carried. One against. 10.4.3, Councillor Hayward. Ready to move this? Councillor Warnock, seconder. Councillor Cleary, all in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks very much, David. Sam, Councillor Morris, yours is an impartiality interest. It's okay. You nearly got away with it. Someone prepared to move this? Councillor Steck, is there a seconder? Councillor Cook? Yep.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd like to proceed with a motion to defer this to the next round on the basis that the neighbouring house staff and the neighbours want to meet further to discuss this parapet wall. I have had a visit to the site, had a discussion with Mr Farnworth and subsequently had a chat to yourself, Mr Mayor. I think it's wise to enable that process to occur rather than, and of course to allow the proponent of the building to be involved in that discussion rather than just try and move an amendment to this which may not be to the benefit of him, the neighbour or the city.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Is there a seconder to that? Councillor Giles. I'll put that. All in favour? Those against? One. That's carried. Thank you. So that's deferred until the next meeting to enable those discussions to occur. 10.4.5, Councillor Stick. Someone prepared to move this one? Councillor Jones, is there a seconder? Councillor Warnock. Likely to be any debate on this, councillors? I'll put it all in favour. Those against, it's carried unanimously. Thank you. We go to 10.4.6. Someone prepared to move this? Councillor Hayward. Is there a seconder? Someone's trying to attract my attention there, Mr. CEO.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I was wondering if I had an opportunity to have a question in respect to the Withers local area plan. Is that out of order?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Talk to one of the officers, Mr. Farnsworth. We'll have a chat to you.
Okay.
Councillor Hayward, do you wish to speak?
Thanks very much. As I mentioned last week at our briefing session, this local area plan really is the blueprint which is going to change Withers permanently and create the space into something that is very sought after, I believe. It's a fantastic suburb with some terrific attributes, but because of some of the ways the suburb's been organised due to the old Radburn method of building, it's really created some problems. And all across the state, the way forward for other communities such as South Headland, Karrawara, Wandowie and others that have had this similar building program is to retrospectively refit the suburb, and that means creating new road links and really changing the way the suburb works. And that's exactly what's being proposed here. I think it's a very exciting proposal, and I would certainly encourage everybody to support it, and it has great local support. The guys that put this project together did an extremely good job of speaking to the local people and involving the local groups in their process, and I think they've come up with something that's very exciting and something that we should be very proud of. Thank you.
Councillor Kelly.
Just briefly, Mr. Chair, just to acknowledge the work that's been done by Councillor Hayward and that group. Also to note that Mrs. Mary Dunlop is now the chair of the Withers Progress Association. As of earlier, I'm not sure if people do that given I've been away a couple of weeks. And also to note the excitement about the input and the changes that are going to occur down there, and hopefully at the forthcoming meetings of the Withers Action Committee, that they'll keep going with that dialogue with the Withers people, particularly in context of the public housing and the requirement for the update on that. So encourage councillors to support this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Speaker against, Councillor Steele.
I'm not wanting to vote say against, but there is some concerns from the ratepayers who have contacted me this week who have been quoted in the 4.1 Withers engagement feedback notes. Ben and Lorraine Kemps have been quoted as saying certain things, and they're actually saying they didn't. And what their concern is that if their views have been interpreted to use within the actual report, then that is just of some concern that they wanted me to highlight.
Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Hayward, do you want to? Okay, I'll put it all in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we move to 10.5.1. So I'm prepared to move the recommendation. Councillor Hayward, seconder. Councillor, I'll take you on, Councillor Kelly. Sorry, Councillor McGraw. Councillor Cook.
Can I move an amendment to the motion, please, Mr Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, my amendment to the motion, councillors, is 4, approve $52,500 construction of a footpath on Naturalist Avenue from Costello Street to Lefroy Place to be funded from the 2015-16 operating surplus, and 5, that the Slee Place laneway not be closed until after the Naturalist Avenue footpath has been completed. I seek a seconder.
Yeah, let me just think about this, Councillor Cook. I'm happy to accept it at this stage. Is there a second for that amendment? Councillor Hayward. Yeah, Councillor Hayward. I'm going to. Councillor McGraw seconds it. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, I seek your support and approval of this amendment. Residents of this delightful little enclave of Bunbury have no existing footpaths, and they've been seeking our support for this infrastructure for at least 2 years that I know of. To build the extension through to Lefroy just makes sense. Although the savings to do it as part of a bigger project seems small, it's just common sense to do it whilst all the equipment and labour is in place. I know we need to be very cautious with expenditure, but in the current financial year, our executive have done a terrific job, and we look like having an operating surplus by the end of June of about $387,000. Furthermore, it's been reported that the resealing of South Car Park cost $100,000. My understanding is that had a budget of $125,000 with a saving of $25,000. I don't subscribe to the view that the footpath should be wholly funded from the Withers Reserve. The footpath is in Usher, and I believe general revenue should pick up the extra costs. Although the Withers Reserve does contain some funds, I'm confident that Councillor Hayward and his committee will invest that money prudently in Withers. I call on you to support this amendment to the recommendation. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, your question.
Because number 2 says temporary close the laneway, but now number 5 is saying don't close it. So those sort of...
Until after this footpath has been completed, the proposed footpath has been completed, so that the 4 and the 5, the Slee Place laneway still intends to be closed, but not until this proposed footpath is constructed.
So 5 means definitely closing, but we still want to temporarily close it. Is that what you want as well? Because I'm trying to query because number 2's...
No, that's why I struggled initially, Councillor Steele. I'm relaxed with the wording. I'm not relaxed with the amendment. Councillor McGraw, did you wish to speak? Yeah. Speaker against this? Councillor Jones.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and I speak on behalf of 8 people living in a delightful little enclave of senior cits in Wisby Street who've been waiting since 2006 for about 20 metres of footpath from one area near the roundabout in Wisby Street through to the shops at Frankel Street. I don't see why there should be some pushing and shoving so that $52,500 can be spent in Naturalist Avenue when there are probably at least a dozen other places around that have priority. Now, we don't have a hierarchy of footpaths. We have a very sensible budgeted program of footpath construction and maintenance, and I think it's a bit of a cheat to try and push this particular one in at this...
Point of order, Mr Mayor.
Point of order, Councillor Cook.
Calling me cheeky.
Councillor Jones, don't refer to Councillor Cook as being cheeky. Please. Not in this arena. Outside you can, but not in here.
The presumption of endorsing this particular footpath on Naturalist Avenue when there are many others, and I'm sure that we get weekly requests
Thank you. Speaker for the amendment, Councillor Hayward.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I completely understand Councillor Jones's concern that she's raised there and others, and I think that generally we've got a lot of work to do with footpaths full stop. But the situation we face here is that we're going to have half a footpath funded on this same street, and then we're going to have half not. And so to the ratepayers in that community, it just looks like we've done the job half. They don't necessarily understand the differences between which comes out of which budget. So whilst I completely understand Councillor Jones' objection and agree that there are other jobs potentially, even with perhaps higher priority than this, and people have waited longer, in this situation we're faced with funding half a footpath, and I think that that's probably not something we ought to do. I think that if we could fund the entire footpath, I think that would make a lot more sense for the residents. It's not a long space, so to build half the footpath is going to seem very odd, and I think that given that there is some savings to have the guys there, it would be worth us doing if we're able to do it. So I'd urge you to support the motion. Thank you.
Further speaker against?
Just a question, if I may.
Sure.
I note that part 2 of the executive recommendation, which was to acknowledge part 4 of the decision of the Withers Advisory Committee, stated at B that they wish to approve the construction of the footpath at Naturalist Avenue from Costello Street to Lefroy Street at a cost of $52,500 from within the Withers Reserve. And I'm just wondering if I can get some guidance as to why that can't be done from within the Withers Reserve, as opposed to perhaps jumping the budget on the operating surplus. If somebody could just explain that to me.
CEO.
Yeah, through Mr Mayor, the original recommendation that came from the committee was to approach council to fund it from another source other than using the Withers Reserve. When the executive reviewed it, we thought it was appropriate, being a Withers project, to come out of the Withers Reserve. Obviously, the amendment's been put up now is to go back and just fund it out of general revenue rather than utilising the Withers Reserve, which at the moment has sufficient funds in it. So it's just a matter of whether or not council wants to fund it from the reserve.
Speaker against, Councillor McCleary had the order before.
Mr Mayor, I use that area and that little laneway, as do many Withers residents, going to the Maidens. That's the way they go, and that's the way we come home. So to have this footpath, although it is, I think it's splitting hairs on the opposite side of the road, it is going to service the Withers residents, okay, going to the Maidens. And so I'm for that. I also believe that we know there's unallocated reserve funds in the Withers purse at the moment. I think we should use that. And once again, I agree with Councillor Jones that if we have any reserves over in our budget, then that can go forward with the footpaths in other areas. Thank you.
Speaker for, Councillor Cook, close.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
I'll put the amendment. It's there, number 4 and 5. All in favour, please indicate. Those against? That's lost. Councillor Hayward, do you wish to speak to the original recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to put into some context why this has come back, as you're aware that the Withers Group has delegated authority to be able to make its own decisions so that things could be expedited. In this situation, there was a split in the vote, which is in the notes. I voted against the motion on the day there because I wasn't convinced that the laneway needed to be shut. However, I accept that the committee's decision is that it ought to be, and so on that basis I'm happy to move it and support that in this forum. So I'd urge you to support the committee's decision. Thank you.
Councillor Kelly? No, it's all right. Is there a speaker against? I'll put it all in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor, we move to 15.1. Can someone move the recommendation we move behind closed doors? In accordance with the standing orders, the City Council resolved that the CEO be offered a contract renewal for 3 years with an option to extend it further 12 months, exercisable at his request. The new contract to commence on 1 March 2017 at the conclusion of his existing contract. Thank you very much, councillors and officers and Busman.
Basically,
this now?
Sorry, my last statement. I'll go to the UK tomorrow. Yeah. Can I stop? I'll be happy to run for a quick change.